Okay, so who else out there has wished for like a memory upgrade? I mean, come on, remembering names, presentations, you got to give a presentation at work, or even just finding your keys without it turning into like a 20-minute scavenger hunt around the house.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be amazing, though?
It really would. I think we've all had that feeling of, I just knew that, and then poof, it's gone.
Yeah, it's like a universal struggle, and that is exactly why we are diving into Como Adquire Una Super Memoria by Harry Lorayne.
Ooh, a classic.
That's classic. On memory training. It is. And don't worry, listener. We are giving you the good stuff. We're giving you the express lane version here. No need to like slog through the whole thing.
Exactly. And what's great about Lorayne is he kind of skips the jargon. It's a really practical system that anyone can use.
And here's the fun part. It's all about outrageous mental images. So the weirder the better when it comes to memory.
Absolutely. It's about making it stick in your mind. So, for example, if you're trying to remember carpet, paper, bottle, if you just picture them next to each other, kind of boring.
Yeah, a little too straightforward, don't you think?
Right. Lorayne would say, no, you got to jazz it up. Imagine like a carpet made of crinkly paper, and you can practically hear it as you walk across it.
Yeah, that's kind of brilliant.
Oh.
I can already hear the crinkling in my head.
Vivid imagery.
It makes you realize how powerful those little sensory details can be.
Yeah.
But I can already see myself like at home trying this out, feeling a bit ridiculous, and then suddenly it works.
That's the beauty of it.
So how else does Lorayne get her brains like firing on all cylinders?
Well, he introduces this concept called the link system. So instead of remembering a random list of things, you link each item to the next with a strong, unusual image.
So even more so than our crinkly carpet. What would be an example of that?
Okay, so let's say we need to remember bottle and then bed.
Okay.
Bottle bed. Picture a giant bottle tucked into bed snoring away.
Okay. Now that's an image that'll stick with you.
Exactly.
But does everyone picture a snoring bottle, or do we get to like personalize these a little bit?
Personalizing is key. What's bizarre to you will stick the best. That's what makes this system so powerful,
So it's like tapping into our own weirdness to make these memories stick.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, I'm curious about something you keep mentioning, linking things together, but what about those times when you need to remember a specific sequence, like phone numbers?
Yeah.
Is there a way to apply this?
That's where the PEG system comes in.
Okay, the PEG system.
And it gets a little more interesting because this involves numbers.
Ooh, numbers my favorite.
So imagine a mental coat rack, right?
Okay, a mental coat rack.
But instead of hooks, you have pre-memorized pegs, and that's where you're going to hang the information.
Gotcha. So instead of hooks, we've got pegs. But what are these pegs made of?
Well, Lorayne has this system where each number from 0 to 9 gets a sound. So 1 is like a T or D sound, 2 is N, and so on.
Okay, I'm with you.
And you choose a one that fits that sound, and that becomes your peg for that number.
So if I need to remember the number 1,
Yeah.
and my assigned sound is T or D, I could use the word tie because it starts with T. This is brilliant. Okay, so I've got my mental coat rack, my pegs are words, but how do I actually use this to remember, let's say, a phone number? Where do the crazy visuals come back in?
You link those peg words to the digits in the phone number one by one.
Okay.
Using vivid, unusual images.
Okay, so if the first digit is a 1 and my peg word is tie,
Yeah.
I need to create some kind of crazy image connecting tie to say the person's name or something about them.
So maybe their name is Mr. Smith,
Okay.
and he's a blacksmith. You can
No.
picture a giant tie strangling a blacksmith.
Okay, that's both disturbing and unforgettable.
There you go.
I love it. I have a feeling I'm going to be seeing giant ties everywhere now. You just might. But you know what's so fascinating to me is how this system forces you to be present. It makes you really pay attention to what you're trying to remember. It makes you wonder, how much do we miss out on in life just because we're not paying attention?
That is such an important point, and Lorayne actually addresses that directly. He says that a huge part of having a good memory is simply paying attention in the first place.
Really?
He even has a whole chapter dedicated to improving observation skills.
So he's saying that we forget things, not because our memories are bad, but because we weren't really there when we first encountered them.
Exactly.
Our minds were elsewhere.
He uses this great example in the book. He asks you to imagine reading this phrase, visit Paris in spring.
Okay, visit Paris in spring. Got it.
But here's the catch. He repeats the word in twice.
Oh, wow. I totally would have missed that.
Visit Paris in spring.
I skim over stuff like that all the time.
Most people do, and that's his point. We often skim over things, assuming we've taken it all in, when in reality we've missed crucial details.
So how do we break that habit? Does he have any, practical tips for training ourselves to be more observant, more present in those moments?
He does. One of his suggestions is to try describing a familiar room in your house from memory in as much detail as possible.
Oh, God, I'm already bad at this.
Every piece of furniture, every object, and then you go back and you compare your description to the actual room, you'll be surprised at what you missed.
I am not going to try that one at home.
It's harder than you think.
But it makes so much sense, though. We're training our minds to be more present, more aware of our surroundings. No wonder we forget things if we're not even really seeing them in the first place.
Exactly. And the more we practice this, the more it becomes a habit, a way of moving through the world with greater awareness and intention.
So it's not just about remembering where you left your keys.
Right.
It's about being fully present for your life.
Exactly.
I love that. And the more I learn about this system, the more I'm realizing that it's not just for these everyday memory challenges. He takes this way further, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely. He goes on to apply these principles to even more complex tasks, memorizing speeches, long numbers, even an entire deck of playing cards.
But hold on, an entire deck of playing cards.
An entire deck.
I can barely remember where I put my phone down 5 seconds ago. How is that even possible?
You'd be surprised Lorayne breaks it down into a manageable system again, using those powerful visualization techniques. So he assigns a unique word to each card, and then you link those words together using the chain method.
So instead of 52 random cards, you're creating a story, a bizarre and memorable journey through this deck of cards.
Precisely.
It's like a weird, wonderful card game happening in my mind.
And once you've got that story down, you can recall the entire deck in perfect order. It's about turning something that seems impossible into a fun, creative challenge.
Okay, I'll admit, I'm starting to see the appeal of this. It's not just about memory. It's about expanding your mental capabilities, almost like tapping into a whole new level of cognitive power. But I also wonder, is this something anyone can do, or is this only for those people with, photographic memories?
That's the beauty of it. It's not about having some innate talent or ability. It's about learning the right techniques and putting in the effort.
So it's a skill.
Yes.
Like playing the piano or speaking another language.
Exactly.
And like any skill, the more you practice, the better you become.
Precisely.
I love that it's so easy to get stuck in that mindset of oh, I'm just bad with names, or I'm just not a numbers person,
Right.
But Lorraine's challenging that whole idea, isn't he?
He is. He believes that everyone has the potential for a supermemory. It's just a matter of learning the right techniques and having the willingness to put in the work.
This is making me realize that so much of what we consider intelligence is actually just learned skills techniques that anyone can acquire with the right approach.
That's a really powerful insight, and I think it's something Lorayne would agree with. He's essentially saying that memory, attention, observation, these are all trainable skills.
Yeah.
And by improving them, you can significantly enhance your overall cognitive ability.
It's so empowering to think that, we're not limited by some fixed intelligence level. We can actively shape and improve our minds.
Absolutely, and I think Lorayne would wholeheartedly agree. He's all about showing people that they have more potential than they realize and giving them the tools to unlock it.
Okay, so we've covered remembering names, speeches, a whole deck of cards. What other mind-blowing feats does Lorayne tackle in this book?
Well, he even gets into memorizing foreign language vocabulary.
No way.
Yes.
I've always wanted to learn another language, but the vocabulary always trips me up. What's his secret?
He uses the same principle of substituting meaningful words or images for the foreign words you want to learn. So it's like hacking the language learning process by using those mental shortcuts to make them stick.
So instead of trying to memorize a word like fenêtre, which is French for window, I'd come up with a vivid image that connects the two.
Exactly.
Okay.
He suggests picturing a thief breaking into a window to commit a crime, fenêtre.
I love how his examples always involve a touch of the absurd.
It works.
But I get it. It's about creating those memorable, outlandish images that our brains just can't shake off.
Exactly. He's constantly challenging you to think outside the box to find those unique and personal associations that will work for you.
It's like he's saying that memory isn't just about storing information, it's about creativity.
Yeah.
It's about making those unexpected connections that turn dry facts into these vibrant mental landscapes.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and I think that's what makes Lorraine's system so engaging. It's not just about rote memorization, it's about using your imagination, playing with language, and having fun with the process.
Yeah.
I
have to say, I'm starting to see this whole memory thing in a new light. It's not some tedious chore, it's an adventure. It's a journey into the vast potential of our own minds.
And the best part is anyone can embark on this journey.
That's right.
Lorayne provides the roadmap. He provides the proven techniques.
He does.
And it's up to each individual to explore and discover what works best for them.
So, for our listener today, maybe this is the start of their own memory adventure.
Absolutely. And who knows what they'll discover along the way.
It's funny. We've spent all this time talking about, these ways to improve our memory, like all these techniques and tricks. But it seems like the biggest takeaway from Lorayne might be something else entirely.
It is interesting, isn't it, how he brings it all back to attention? Like, he doesn't just give you these tools. He makes you think about why they work.
Right.
And he says that a lot of what we call forgetting is really just a failure to pay attention in the first place.
So it's not that our memories are bad. It's that, the information never even got in there to begin with.
Yeah, we weren't really paying attention.
Our mind was somewhere else.
Exactly. He says we're just bombarded with so much information constantly that our brains have to filter a lot of it out just to function.
Oh, yeah. It's like our brains are playing a never-ending game of information whack-a-mole.
Exactly. And attention is how we choose which bits of information we're going to focus on.
Okay.
And he argues that without conscious, focused attention, that information just doesn't make it into our long-term memory.
It's like it goes in one ear and out the other,
Yeah.
but maybe it never even made it to the ear in the first place.
Maybe not even.
Wow. That's kind of a sobering thought. It makes you think about all those times you've forgotten someone's name, like 2 seconds after they've introduced themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Were you really present in that moment, or was
Yeah.
your mind already somewhere else?
Exactly. And it's not just about social situations either, right?
Yeah.
Think about the implications for learning, for making important decisions.
Oh, yeah.
For truly connecting with the people and experiences in our lives. If we're not paying attention, are we really even living?
It's like we're sleepwalking through our own lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I get it. Attention is important. But is Lorayne suggesting that we all become hyper-focused monks, meditating on every single detail?
Well,
How do we actually apply this in the real world?
I don't think it's about being hyper-focused on everything. It's more about becoming aware of where we direct our attention and making conscious choices about what we allow into our minds.
So instead of, passively scrolling through social media or trying to multitask our way through the day, we should be trying to carve out that time for focused attention
Yes.
on the things that really matter.
On the things that matter.
It's about being present right here, right now.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that attention is a limited resource, and we need to treat it as such. And when we do that, not only do we remember more, but we experience life more fully.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I went into this wanting to learn how to remember people's names and a few grocery list items.
Right.
But it turns out it's about so much more than that.
It really is. It's about harnessing the power of our minds to live richer, more meaningful lives. It's about being present, engaged, truly alive in each moment, and it all starts with paying attention.
What a powerful message. And to our listener out there, we hope this deep dive has, sparked some aha moments for you.
Absolutely.
Given you a fresh perspective on memory and maybe even inspired you to unlock your own super memory potential.
It's in there.
Until next time, keep diving deep.